I'm Larry Fedoruk, and this is I Was 8. Season 4 of my storytelling podcast. Next week, the favorite toy that was never a toy. Now, this week's story.
Season 4, Chapter 3. Halloween.
Trick-or-treating is not my most vivid memory of Halloween in the small town of Waukah, Saskatchewan. I do recall proposing an idea that the last day of each month be designated as a day when all kids in town should be allowed to go door to door and beg for candy. What's this once-a-year crap? Dad was on the town council for a bit, and I begged him to put forth a motion at their next meeting. He said he would, but they must have voted it down because it never happened. Still a good idea, though. My most vivid memories of Halloween are the costumes and the candy. Who could forget the candy? Great candy. Sweet tarts? Sweet, yes, but so tart that if you put more than one in your mouth at the same time, your face puckered so badly you felt like your entire head was going to be sucked down into your neck hole. Sometimes, before even opening the packet, we would smash them up with a hammer and then pour the bits into a bottle of Pepsi, a magic elixir, and as I recall, an early DIY hallucinogenic. And oh, Pepsi. Can't say enough about Pepsi, though in itself not a Halloween treat. It did go with all of them. Remember biting both ends off a Twizzler and using it as a Pepsi straw? Or blowing back into the Pepsi and fizzing it out until it was flat, then eating the Pepsi-infused Twizzler before chugging the remaining cola. It's a wonder I still have a tooth left in my head. Candy, candy, candy. Chocolate, licorice, toffee. Oh, and nothing goes better after a big candy meal than a Popeye candy cigarette. Popeye himself smoked a pipe, but he endorsed cigarettes for kids. We developed a technique in consuming these candy sticks. We would try and suck one end down to a very sharp point and try and poke a friend with it in the arm to see if it would pierce the skin. Why did we do this? I don't know. We just did. It's why, to this day, Popeye candy cigarettes are not allowed in prisons. True story. Costumes are the greatest memory of Halloween. We wore them to school, and we had a little Halloween party. At the end of the day, prizes were handed out for some of the better get-ups. I believe the prizes were candy. One year, my award-winning costume was a granny. I was lucky enough to have a mom who was not only a teacher, but an artist who worked in several mediums. She cut a piece of cloth to fit over my head, then she sewed an elastic around it so that it would fit snug like a shower cap. On that cloth, she glued clumps of wool to look like old granny hair, fashioned into a stylish bun at the top. She cut down an old dress to fit me and punched the lenses out of some old wire-frame glasses. By Halloween Day, I also had a bosom. I recall Artie Drucker copping a feel during recess. Hey, Artie, I'm not that kind of granny. I lost a lot of respect for him that day. I looked like something between Granny from the Bugs Bunny cartoons and Norman Bates from Psycho. Didn't matter. Larry as Granny was a big hit. And here is your candy, costume champion. Of course, it's not like competition was that stiff. The most popular costume for boys of the day was hobo. I think because it was easy. Dad or Gramps always had an old beat-up jacket and hat that you could wear. You had some old torn-up jeans, your mud boots, dirt on your face. Bingo! Hobo! I wanted to be a hobo, but no self-respecting son of a teacher artist was going out as a hobo. All right, I'll be a granny. By the way, it's the only time in my life I've ever dressed in women's clothing. It's not a commentary, incidentally. It's just a fact. No disrespect intended. Caitlin. We didn't actually think of hobos as the homeless. Quite the contrary. In our limited understanding, hobo was an occupation, a life choice, vagabond, traveler, devil-may-care adventurer, riding the rails town to town, working only when necessary, can of beans over an open fire, no muss, no fuss, no dishes to do, sleeping under the stars. We didn't understand the quiet desperation of men down on their luck. To us, it was romantic. Maybe one day I'll be a hobo. It was something to aspire to. It would be years before we were disabused of that notion, except for a few who went on to become hippies. But as a kid, if you thought you could never achieve hobo status in real life, at least you could be one for Halloween. So, what other culturally insensitive costumes can we talk about? Well, the year after Granny, I recall Mom saying she was a little too busy to devote all that extra time into making a costume. So she suggested that I think of something I could put together myself. How about hobo? Can I be a hobo? A bunch of my friends are going as hobo. I want to be a hobo. Please, hobo? No, stop saying hobo. You'll just have to think of something else. I had nothing. Halloween was drawing near. One day for fun, I was walking around the house in this oversized straw hat that my dad had won at the X. Mom said it looked like a sombrero, and that she could cut a hole in an old blanket. I could wear that as a serape, and with the hat go out for Halloween as a Mexican. Well, sure, simple costume. I could wear regular clothes underneath, no wigs, no bosom to worry about. Mexican it is. By the way, I've heard it said serape. As a kid, we called them serapes, so I'm sticking with that for the sake of this story. Later that weekend, I made the mistake of telling my idiot friend Philip about my costume. Turns out his dad had an actual Mexican sombrero he bought in actual Mexico. Now, Philip said he was going as a Mexican. I thought you were doing hobo. Yeah, but this is better. Then Philip tells Rolly Messner, and Rolly Messner's dad had won the exact same hat at the X, and his mom, too, said she could cut up an old blanket. Well, this is no good now, I said to Mom. We're all going to be Mexicans? Can I please be a hobo? Oh, yeah, hobo-free zone here. Mom had this idea that the three of us go to school together on Halloween as the Three Amigos. That year, in each class's Halloween party, students were encouraged to do a little skit or performance of some kind based on their costume. Mom taught us the Latino classic La Cucaracha, the cockroach. Mom, the playwright, suggested we sit on the floor against the wall up front near the blackboard, sombreros pulled down over our eyes as if in siesta. Suddenly I would pretend a bug crawled on me, jump up and yell La Cucaracha, at which point the other two would jump up and we would break into song. Are you cringing? Yes, 'cause I am, even in the recollection of these events from my life. Well, Halloween day came, and at the party, Connie Musica, who was a fairy princess, recited a poem about magic. Errol Rance, who was a hobo, pulled a small whiskey bottle out of his pocket, filled with Kool-Aid, we think, and pretended to be drunk. That got a few laughs. I know, still cringing. And then the school teacher said, "Now here's Philip, Rolly, and Larry." We took our positions. I jumped up, said my line, and we sang our song. Also, we had a few dance moves that we'd rehearsed. A smash! Riotous laughter and applause. So much so, A teacher from the next class stuck his head into the door to ask what was going on. When our teacher explained, the other teacher had us come to his class to do the song again. Same response. We were the Beatles at this point. And we did the song 4 more times for each class in our entire school. The Three Amigos toured for 2.5 years on that act. 8 shows a week, including 2 matinees, topping it all off with an appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show. Okay, not that last part, but we were the hit of the school, and we won first prize. Candy. A year later, as Halloween approached, the pressure was on. Larry, back-to-back Halloween champion. How does one top Psycho Tweety Bird Granny and Singing Mexican? Hobo? No, even I was off the hobo train, so to speak. Had to be something special. At this time, I had noticed the hardware store was selling pre-packaged Halloween costumes. Yeah, I could just buy myself a championship, especially when I saw this one costume, Spaceman. Wow, look at the guy on the front of the plastic bag. He's got champion written all over him. I loved space. My uncle would call me outside at night when I was on his farm. He'd point up at the sky and tell me which lights were stars and which were satellites sent up by man. Ooh, space. Fascinating. In school, I took up space. Okay, that's a very old joke. But oddly, it's always made me laugh, so I just threw it in. Talked Dad into buying the space costume, and I rushed home to try it on. Well, this was a major disappointment. Basically, the entire costume was a blue and yellow jumpsuit made out of what felt like thick paper. And on the jumpsuit were pictures of planets and shooting stars and stuff. That's ridiculous. A real spaceman wouldn't wear something like this more than a farmer would always wear a jumpsuit with a picture of a tractor on it. The butcher doesn't wear a shirt with pictures of pork chops. Well, you get my drift. Now what? Once again, Mom to the rescue. What if, Larry, you had a fancy space helmet? Okay, yeah. How do we get one of those? Can you think of how? No, got nothing. So Mom took a small cardboard box, cut out a head hole and a face hole in it, painted it, then stuck an old light bulb on top, some old Christmas light bulbs on the sides where the ears would be, connected them all with some wires. Bingo, space helmet! I entered school that day to oohs and ahs. I wore the dumb jumpsuit with the planets and moon and crap, but everyone was amazed at the space helmet. Except for Philip. I had told him nothing about my costume that year. What are you supposed to be, a robot? No, spaceman. Why do you have a robot head? I don't, I have a space helmet. Why would a space helmet have a light bulb? Duh, 'cause space is dark. Does the light bulb go on? No, it doesn't. Well, what good is it? Well, it pretend goes on. You look like a robot. Shut up, I'm a spaceman. Well, thankfully, Philip was not on the judging committee, because first prize that day, a bag of candy, went to Larry, the spaceman. By age 8, I had accomplished something no one in our town had ever done, or has ever done, since. A three-peat Halloween costume champion. I'd like to thank my mother and father and the good Lord Jesus Christ. My advice to you kids out there is never give up, and one day your dreams might come true. Thank you. The following year, my own personal dream did come true. I went out as a hobo. I knew it wouldn't win. I reasoned that I'd had my glory. It was time to give somebody else a chance. There should probably be some sort of plaque in my old hometown of Waka. Maybe in the school somewhere, bronze, with my 3D likeness simple inscription, Larry Fedoruk, consecutive 3-time Halloween costume champion. I've written to them suggesting this, never heard back. You know how these things go. It's all politics.
I Was 8 is a weekly storytelling podcast written, produced, and voiced by Larry Fedoruk. Larry Fedoruk, that's Fedoruk, can be reached at larryfedoruk37@gmail.com.